My name is Kathy Briggs. I'm 31 years old, and 3 hours ago, I liked a post that ended a 3-year relationship. It wasn't even a breakup post, at least not at first glance. It was one of those fake, deep Instagram quotes with a sunset background. Finally free from toxic relationships. Living my best life now. Below it, a string of hashtags, #healing, #self-love, #new beginnings, #high vibrations. The problem, the person who posted it, Mason Fletcher, my boyfriend, was sitting on the couch next to me when I saw it, on my Wi-Fi, in my apartment, using my phone charger. I stared at the glowing screen, unsure whether to laugh or throw my phone through the window. Mason was typing away, humming softly to himself, completely oblivious. "Interesting post," I said. My tone was calm, too calm. He didn't look up. "Yeah, just something inspiring for my followers. Positivity, you know. Positivity. That word should have come with a warning label. Mason's entire world revolved around positivity, energy, and manifestation. He was 27, a spiritual wellness coach who believed debt was a low vibration and paying bills was bad for abundance flow. For the past 18 months, that meant I paid for everything. Rent, groceries, internet, utilities. He paid in good vibes and promises of energetic return. And now apparently I was the toxic energy he was freeing himself from. I scrolled through the comments. Heart emojis, applause. One follower wrote, "So proud of you for letting go of what doesn't serve you." Another energy, vampires always reveal themselves at the end of a cycle. I felt my jaw tighten. Mason smiled at his screen, clearly pleased with the attention. "You know," I said softly, "it's brave posting something like that while still in a relationship." He finally looked up. "Kathy, not everything I post is about you. God, you're so literal. It's about healing, not drama." "Right, healing." I forced a smile, hiding the flicker of heat behind my ribs. I wasn't the type to scream or throw things. My anger was quiet, precise, like the click of a lock turning. I tapped like on his post, then typed a comment. "Agreed. Toxic relationships drain your energy. Time for positive change." He smiled. "See, you get it." Oh, I got it. That night, he left for his weekly moon circle wine night with women who called themselves goddesses of light. He kissed my forehead and said, "Don't wait up. Energy exchange nights can run late." The door shut behind him. Silence. For the first time in months, the apartment felt breathable. The faint smell of sage hung in the air. His crystals glowed faintly under the salt lamp. Everything in this place had been shaped around his idea of balance, and I realized I was the imbalance, the one paying to keep his fantasy alive. My phone buzzed. A notification, Mason Fletcher tagged you in a story. He'd reposted my comment. "When your partner supports your spiritual growth, grateful." Something inside me snapped, not loudly, just a soft final click. I opened my laptop, electric company, gas, internet, water, every utility bill tied to my name. Each tab opened with mechanical precision, my fingers steady as I typed. Transfer account to Mason Fletcher. The system didn't need his permission. He was listed as an occupant, not a leaseholder. I just had to release my accounts. By the time I finished, the emails began rolling in. Confirmation of account transfer, effective next billing cycle, deposit required from new account holder. I stared at the final one, the total deposits due about $2,000. For 18 months, I'd been paying for Mason's peace. Now he could fund his own enlightenment. I closed my laptop, leaned back, and laughed quietly. Freedom looked good on me, even in the dark. The next morning, I moved through the apartment as if through someone else's dream. The crystals, the meditation corners, the dried flowers taped to the fridge, all his. I noticed something then, the quiet hum of the refrigerator, steady and low. The kind of sound you never notice until you know it's going to stop. "Enjoy it while it lasts," I whispered. When Mason came home that night, I was already in bed pretending to sleep. He tiptoed in, smelling like incense and cheap Chardonnay, whispering affirmations to himself. I watched him through half-closed eyes as he set his phone on the charger, the glowing screen lighting his face. He smiled at his reflection in the dark window. "Finally free from toxic relationships," he murmured. And maybe it was the exhaustion, or maybe it was something deeper, but in that moment I felt free too. The next morning I made coffee, stared at the rising steam, and thought about the life I'd built for both of us, the endless bills, the quiet resentment, the loneliness disguised as caretaking. I wasn't angry anymore, just done. Completely surgically done. When he left for his Saturday routine, the farmer's market yoga brunch with his spiritual sisters, I sat at the kitchen table, opened my phone, and made one final call. "Hi," I said. I'd like to update my forwarding address. A pause. The woman on the line asked if I was moving. Yes, I said, smiling faintly, finally free from toxic energy. The irony wasn't lost on me. As I hung up, sunlight poured through the window, lighting the dust motes swirling above the counter, the hum of the refrigerator, the faint buzz of the salt lamp steady oblivious. Tomorrow those sounds would stop, and somewhere inside that silence, Mason would meet the version of freedom he'd been begging the universe for. Freedom, I whispered, reaching for my coffee mug. Let's see how you handle it. Saturday mornings had always belonged to Mason. His ritual of self-care was predictable, almost holy in its consistency. 8:00 a.m., farmer's market. 10:30 a.m., hot yoga with his soul sisters. 12:30 p.m., brunch, bottomless mimosas, and spiritual gossip. It was the perfect window for me to disappear. By 8:15, I had my hair tied back, old jeans on, and a quiet determination pulsing under my ribs. Every move I made was deliberate, measuring what was mine and what wasn't. The air smelled like rain and sage as I taped boxes shut, each one labeled in blocky, Sharpie letters. The more I packed, the lighter I felt. Tessa showed up right on time, coffee in hand, truck idling at the curb. She leaned against the doorframe, scanning the chaos inside. "So, we're really doing this?" she asked, her voice low, a grin tugging at the corner of her mouth. "Yeah," I said, snapping the box closed. "He wanted freedom. I'm giving it to him, utilities included." Tessa laughed, shaking her head. "God, Kathy, only you would turn a breakup into a precision operation. That's what he gets for dating an accountant." We both laughed, but there was something brittle in it. I could feel the weight of every month I'd carried him, the rent, the bills, the emotional labor. Each box I lifted was one less burden. "Where is he now?" she asked, helping me move the first load. "Yoga, aligning his chakras while I unalign his life." "Damn," she said, impressed. "Poetic." The apartment looked different already, half empty, half honest. Without my books, my plants, my warmth, it felt like the shell it had always been, Mason's stage for a performance called Healing Manhood. He'd filled it with salt lamps, dream catchers, and affirmation posters that read, "Abundance flows where gratitude grows," none of which had ever paid a bill. As Tessa and I worked, I found myself pausing at small things, a photo of us on the balcony, Mason holding me, while I laughed. I stared at it, remembering the girl who thought love meant patience. I set the photo down face first. "Leave it," Tessa said softly. "He'll need something to manifest over." By noon, the apartment was stripped of anything that had my fingerprints on it, bed, desk, books, cookware. I even took the good towels, the ones he called too corporate. I left the couch, though. He'd picked it out, and I was feeling generous. The silence in the apartment shifted. It wasn't empty. It was clean, like a wound finally aired out. Tessa stood beside me, wiping sweat from her forehead. "You sure about this?" "I'm past sure," I said. "I'm done." I walked to the kitchen, pulled a piece of paper from my planner, and wrote slowly, carefully. "Mason, you're right about being free from toxic relationships. I'm helping you achieve that freedom. The utilities are now in your name as of Monday. Rent is due on the 1st. The landlord's number is on the fridge. Live your best life. Kathy." I folded the note neatly and left it on the counter next to a folder containing all the transfer confirmations. For a moment, I stood there staring at it, the culmination of months of resentment, quiet sacrifices, and ignored red flags. Tessa broke the silence. "You want to do one last cleanse before we go? Burn some sage, set the vibe." I smirked. "No, I think he's got enough smoke for both of us." We carried the last box to the truck. As I locked the door behind me, I turned to look one final time. The salt lamp on his altar flickered softly, casting a warm, orange glow on the vision board he'd made. Pasted across it were photos of Beach's cars and the words, "Financial Freedom," in glittery letters. "Be careful what you manifest," I whispered. Tessa caught the tone and glanced at me. "What are you thinking?" "Nothing," I said. "Just wondering how long it'll take before he realizes freedom costs a deposit." We climbed into the truck and pulled away. The city stretched open before us, sunlight slicing through the clouds, streets wet and gleaming from the morning rain. At the first stoplight, Tessa turned to me. "So where to?" "Your place for now," I said. "Just until I find something permanent." She nodded, then hesitated. "Do you want to block him, just to be safe?" "No," I stared out the window. "Let him talk to the void for a while. Silence hurts louder." Tessa smiled faintly. "You've got a dark streak, Briggs. Guess it's finally coming in handy." We drove in silence for a while, music humming softly from the radio. I watched the city slide by, people holding umbrellas, kids chasing puddles, the normal rhythm of life continuing, indifferent to heartbreak. And for the first time in years, I wasn't anxious about where Mason was or what mood he'd be in when he got home. I wasn't worrying about money or apologies or tiptoeing around his ego. I was just gone. Halfway to Tessa's, I realized I hadn't cried. Not once. Maybe that was what healing actually looked like. Not forgiveness, not understanding, just absence. By the time we unloaded my boxes at her apartment, the tension in my chest had dissolved into something close to peace. Tessa leaned on the doorframe watching me settle in. "You look lighter," she said. "I left the weight behind," I replied. She grinned. "You left a note too, didn't you?" "Of course." "What did it say?" "That he's free." She raised a brow. "You think he'll get the message?" I smiled, tired and certain. He'll get it when the lights go out. It only took 48 hours for Mason to realize that freedom has a price tag. The first text came Sunday evening. Mason. "Hey, did you move my TV?" "Me, my TV." Mason. "Where's your stuff?" Me. "At my new place." A pause, then another message. Mason, new place. I sent him a screenshot of his Instagram post, the one with the sunset and the caption about toxic relationships. Me, just respecting your journey to freedom. Then I put my phone face down on the table and let the silence stretch. By midnight, 52 missed calls. By Monday morning, 71. I muted him, not blocked. I wanted the evidence. Tessa poured coffee into my mug, smirking. "How's Mr. Enlightenment doing in the dark?" "Losing his aura," I said. We both laughed. But by that afternoon, laughter turned into knocking. Loud, desperate, relentless knocking. Tessa peeked through the window blinds. "Oh no," she whispered. "He brought backup." On the porch stood Mason, his mother Paula, and his sister Kennedy, the Fletcher family, a walking storm of perfume and judgment. Tessa whispered, "Should we pretend we're not home?" I sighed. Too late. I opened the door. Paula didn't wait for an invitation. She swept inside like a hurricane in pearls. "We need to talk," she snapped. Tessa stepped forward, calm but firm. "Excuse me, ma'am, this is my house." Paula ignored her, glaring at me. "How dare you abandon my son?" He came home to an empty apartment. No furniture, no power, no internet. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" I folded my arms. "I think I have a pretty good idea." Mason's eyes were red, whether from crying or lack of sleep, I couldn't tell. "They want deposits for everything," he said hoarsely. $400 each. That's like $2,000, Kathy. "Your math checks out," I said coolly. "But you always told me money was just energy." Kennedy stepped between us, voice dripping with outrage. "You're cruel. He's been focusing on his spiritual growth, not material things. Material things like electricity, running water, refrigeration." Paula gasped. "Don't you dare mock his calling. You know he's sensitive." "I know he's irresponsible," I shot back. "And for the record, I didn't abandon him. I stopped paying for him." Paula's eyes blazed. "You're going to fix this or I'll call the police." Tessa, bless her, had already started recording on her phone. "For what crime exactly?" she asked calmly. Paula hesitated. "Financial abuse." I laughed. "Financial abuse. He lived rent-free for 18 months, Paula. I paid for everything. Rent, utilities, groceries, yoga classes, even his sound baths. He contributed exactly nothing except bad credit and crystals." Mason's voice cracked. "That's not true. I helped with the groceries." "You Venmo'd me $12 once for gas," I said. "Don't rewrite history." Kennedy tried a softer tone. "Look, Kathy, we get it. You're hurt. But you can't just leave someone high and dry. His credit's ruined now." "His credit was already ruined," I said. 3 maxed out cards and no income will do that." Paula stepped closer, lowering her voice. "He could be homeless, you heartless woman. Is that what you want?" I smiled thinly. "He has you. And you have a house. Sounds like he's covered." That's when Mason dropped his final desperate card. "Kathy," he said, voice trembling. I'm pregnant." The room froze. Even Paula blinked. Tessa snorted so hard she nearly dropped her phone. I stared at him, incredulous. "You're what?" He blinked rapidly. "I mean, not literally. Spiritually pregnant. With new energy." "Ah," I said. "A new low-frequency fetus." Tessa burst out laughing, wheezing against the counter. Mason's face reddened. "This isn't funny, Kathy. I was trying to heal us. By posting about being free from me, it wasn't about you. It was about my ex, Daniel from college. The one you haven't seen in 5 years." "Yes." I crossed my arms. "So you were processing old trauma while living in my apartment rent-free." "Why are you twisting this?" he snapped. "You've always had control issues. That's your shadow work talking." "Maybe," I said quietly, "but my shadow work pays the bills." Paula threw up her hands. "You know what, we're done here. But mark my words, Kathy, this isn't over. You'll pay for what you've done to my son. I already did, I said softly, for a year and a half. Tessa's camera caught every second Paula's shrill threats, Mason's fake tears, Kennedy's glares. When they finally stormed out, the silence left behind was deafening. Tessa looked at me, phone still recording. You want me to delete it? Keep it, I said. We'll need the footage when he starts playing victim online. I sat down, heart thudding. The adrenaline was fading, replaced by something sharper clarity. Mason would twist this story, of course. He'd cry into a camera and talk about how I abandoned him. He'd weaponize empathy like he always did. But this time I had receipts. And for the first time since I'd met him, I wasn't afraid of his story anymore. I was ready to tell my own. By Tuesday morning, Mason's healing journey had gone public. I woke up to 27 notifications and a flood of screenshots from Tessa. Mason's face filled my feed, tear-streaked tragic, holding a mug that said empath energy only. His caption read, "My abusive ex left me without warning. No power, no food, no support. When strong women set boundaries, we're labeled toxic. But we rise anyway. #survivor, #healing from abuse." Strong women. Mason, 5 o'clock shadow flannel robe, mug of chamomile, calling himself a strong woman. The irony could have powered the apartment I'd just left. The comments section was a shrine of sympathy. Stay strong, Mason. You deserve better. Men like that drain our light. He'd even tagged my old employer as if warning the universe about me. Tessa forwarded another story, him crying in the dark, a single candle burning beside his manifestation journal. He said the word abandonment 5 times in 60 seconds. I almost felt bad. Almost. Tessa called me. He's milking this harder than a dairy farm in a drought. I groaned. Let him. The truth doesn't need hashtags. But the truth does need evidence, and by Wednesday, the receipts came knocking. A woman named Dana, one of my old coworkers, commented under Mason's viral video, "Wait, didn't Kathy pay your rent and bills for like 2 years? You literally bragged about it at my birthday party." Mason deleted the comment within minutes, but screenshots travel faster than light. Within an hour, it was reposted everywhere. Still, he doubled down, posting part 2 of his TikTok saga. This time, there was sad piano music, him packing boxes by candlelight, saying things like, "Sometimes love teaches us through loss." The video hit 60,000 views. Sympathy flooded in again. Then came Tessa's counterstrike. She uploaded the doorbell footage, Paula yelling Kennedy, calling me cruel Mason, admitting he hadn't paid bills in over a year, and the pièce de résistance, the spiritual pregnancy moment. Her caption was simple. Context matters. It went viral within hours. People started piecing the story together, the posts, the bills, the staged tears. Suddenly, Mason's audience turned skeptical. Comments shifted tone. Wait, didn't she pay for everything bro said he's pregnant? This is why manifestation coaches scare me. Mason's replies got more frantic. He accused Tessa of manipulating energy, said we were narcissistic gaslighters, and ended his rant with, "I forgive them anyway." But the damage was done. By Friday, his wellness clients had started quietly ghosting him. His Patreon supporters withdrew pledges. His Healing with Mason Facebook group went silent. And then unexpectedly, Leonard Fletcher called me. His voice was calm, older, weary. "Kathy, it's Leonard Mason's father." I hesitated. "Hi, Mr. Fletcher." "I just wanted to apologize," he said softly. "I saw the video. My son, he's always been this way. His mother and sister, they enable him. You didn't do anything wrong." I sank into the couch, staring at the wall. "Thank you. That means a lot." He sighed. "You paid $2,000 a month, Jesus Christ." "Plus groceries, plus yoga memberships," I said, half laughing. "I basically financed enlightenment." He chuckled bitterly. "I'm cutting off his phone plan. If Paula wants to keep defending him, she can pay for it herself." When I hung up, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Tessa handed me a slice of pizza. "What's the damage report?" "His dad's done funding him." She grinned. The karma train runs on time. But underneath my relief, something else lingered, a heaviness I hadn't expected. Watching Mason self-destruct wasn't satisfying. It was sad. I'd loved him once. Or at least I'd loved the version of him I thought existed, the one who made breakfast in bed and talked about the universe like it was personal. That version had vanished somewhere between his first sound bath and his last unpaid rent. I closed my phone and looked out the window. The night air smelled like rain again. Cleansing. Honest. Tessa leaned back, scrolling through comments. "You know what I love about the internet," she said. "It's a mirror. Eventually it reflects the truth." "Yeah," I said quietly. "But it's also an echo. You just have to make sure you don't get trapped in your own voice." She glanced at me. "You okay?" "I think so." In the distance, thunder rolled. Somewhere, Mason was probably lighting a candle and calling it transformation. But for the first time since leaving, I wasn't angry. Just free. And that felt louder than any post he could ever write. By week 2, I thought the storm had passed. Mason's social media pity parade had lost momentum. The comments were down, the sympathy drying up. I'd started sleeping through the night again, even laughing at work. But narcissists don't fade quietly. They go out with a performance. It was a Thursday morning, gray and humid. The accounting office smelled of burnt coffee and printer toner. I was buried in quarterly reports when I heard the front desk call out, Kathy, there's someone here for you." Before I could ask who, his voice echoed down the hallway. "Kathy, we need to talk." Every head in the office turned. There he was, Mason Fletcher, in a wrinkled linen shirt and desperation. His hair was damp from rain, his eyes wide like a lost child. He looked nothing like the composed guru from his online videos. "Mason," I said, standing slowly, "what are you doing here?" He stepped inside, ignoring my coworkers' curious stares. "You won't answer my calls. You won't listen. So here I am. We need to talk about us." "There is no us," I said sharply. His eyes darted around the cubicles. "Why are you acting like this, after everything I've done for you?" I blinked. "What you've done for me." He spread his arms dramatically. "I loved you unconditionally, Kathy. You can't just erase that because you're mad about a post." The room was so silent you could hear the hum of the fluorescent lights. My manager, Brenda, an unflappable 62-year-old with reading glasses perpetually perched on her head, emerged from her office. "Is there a problem here?" she asked, her tone flat and unimpressed. Mason turned to her, gesturing wildly. "Yes, there's a problem. She abandoned me. She's been lying about who she is. Everyone thinks she's so perfect, but she's manipulative, controlling, cold." "Stop," I said. My voice wasn't loud, but it cut through the room like glass. "You're making a scene." He scoffed. "A scene? Oh, that's rich. You humiliated me in front of thousands of people." Brenda crossed her arms. "Sir, you need to leave." He ignored her. "Is this your new lover?" he snapped, pointing at Brenda. "Is she the reason you left me?" The office collectively gasped. Brenda blinked once, deadpan. "Sir, I've been married for 40 years. Tessa would have loved this." "Mason," I said evenly, "you need to go." But his voice rose, frantic, trembling between rage and panic. "You'll regret this. You can't just walk away like I'm nothing. I know things about you." Brenda nodded towards security. "Now." 2 guards appeared from the lobby, calm and practiced. They guided him toward the door, but he twisted at the last second, shouting, "You can't block your twin flame, Kathy. The universe will punish you." The elevator doors closed on his words. Silence. Then the unmistakable sound of Brenda muttering, "What a nutcase," as she headed back to her office. I sank into my chair, shaking. My hands trembled so hard I could barely type. My coworkers pretended not to stare. 10 minutes later, a message popped up on my screen. "Brenda, take a break, kid. I've seen worse. Go breathe." I did. Outside in the drizzle, I let the cold air hit my face and tried to steady my breathing. My phone buzzed. "Tessa." "You okay?" she asked, voice sharp with worry. "He came to my job," I whispered. "Oh, hell no. Want me to post the security footage with clown music?" I actually laughed. Tempting, but HR might beat you to it. That night, Mason's mother, Paula, found her next move. When obsession meets audacity, mothers like her call HR. Friday morning, I got summoned into a conference room. Brenda was there, along with our HR director, Evelyn, whose expression was all business. "Kathy," she said, "we received a complaint alleging financial impropriety." I blinked. "From who?" Brenda slid a printed email across the table. Paula's name gleamed at the top like a stain. "Kathy Briggs has been using company funds to support her lavish lifestyle while my son suffered. She's manipulative and unethical. Please investigate before more people are hurt." Evelyn rubbed her temples. "We have to follow procedure." I opened my phone and began scrolling through my banking app. "Here's every rent and utility payment for the last 18 months, I said, laying my phone on the table, all from my salary. "Here's every grocery receipt. Here's his Venmo payments, 2 in total, $12 for gas, $40 for pizza." Brenda snorted. $52 in 2 years, big spender. Evelyn sighed. "That's sufficient evidence. We'll close the complaint immediately." "Can we also send Paula a cease and desist?" I asked. Evelyn smiled grimly. "Already drafted." When the meeting ended, Brenda walked me back to my desk. "You handled that well," she said. "If anyone else shows up claiming divine enlightenment, I'll call security myself." I managed a tired laugh. "Deal." By the time I got home that evening, exhaustion had settled deep in my bones. I kicked off my shoes and collapsed onto Tessa's couch. She handed me a glass of wine. So HR drama too, huh? Yep. Paula accused me of embezzling good vibes. Tessa raised her glass. To surviving lunatics with crystals. We clinked glasses. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The apartment was warm quiet, the kind of quiet that feels earned. I looked out the window, the city lights soft in the drizzle. Mason's chaos had invaded every part of my life, but I was finally taking it back piece by piece. I keep thinking about what he said, I murmured. Which part? The pregnancy or the twin flame? I smiled faintly. No, the part about regret. Tessa tilted her head. Do you regret? I shook my head. No, just relief. She nodded. Then that's your answer. Outside, thunder rolled again low and distant. I lifted my glass toward the window, whispering the words like a toast. To freedom, I said softly, and the electric bill that isn't in my name. Tessa laughed so hard she nearly spilled her wine. And for the first time in months, I laughed with her. 2 weeks after the office ambush, the silence was almost suspicious. No calls, no emails, no cryptic moon phase posts about betrayal and masculine wounds. For a while, I thought maybe he'd finally accepted reality. Then Leonard called again. His voice was gruff but calm. Just wanted to update you. Mason's been having a hard time. I hesitated. Define hard time. He's broke. His clients dropped him after those videos. The landlord's evicting him. Apparently, he tried to sublet your old bedroom online. Got caught. I sighed. Of course he did. Leonard chuckled without humor. Paula and Kennedy are still defending him, but I told them they're on their own. I'm done paying for a grown man's crystals. Good for you, I said quietly. He paused. You did the right thing, Kathy. You gave him what the rest of us never did, accountability. After we hung up, I stared at my reflection in the window. I didn't feel triumphant. Just hollow. Like watching a fire you started finally burn itself out. That weekend, Tessa and I were at her kitchen table sorting through my savings plan. Something normal, something real, when a notification pinged on her phone. She said, frowning. He's live again. I leaned over. Mason's face filled the screen. He looked thinner eyes, ringed with exhaustion. The background was dim, his parents' house probably. He was rambling about betrayal as a divine teacher clutching a candle like it was a microphone. Some people, he said dramatically, take your light and then accuse you of being too bright. Tessa snorted. He's comparing himself to the sun now. I smiled faintly, but said nothing. Watching him, I felt a strange mixture of pity and disbelief. How far someone could sink while still insisting they were floating. He ended the live by saying he was starting fresh teaching spiritual lessons from personal pain. The pinned comment read, "Do you take Venmo?" When the stream ended, I exhaled. He's not done yet. No, Tessa said, but he's running out of batteries. By midweek, the inevitable came, eviction finalized, his car repossessed, utilities disconnected for good. Mason was officially unplugged from every system that had once kept him afloat financially, emotionally, electrically. Then came the message I didn't expect. It wasn't from Mason, it was from Kennedy. Hi, Kathy, I just wanted to say I'm sorry. We believed him because we always do. He told us you controlled the money, that you used it to make him feel small. We didn't know the truth. I read it twice before replying. Thank you. I don't hate any of you. I just couldn't keep saving him anymore. Her response came a minute later. I get it now. Sometimes love means leaving. I wish I'd learned that sooner too. That one sentence stayed with me all night. The following morning, Tessa knocked on my bedroom door, holding 2 coffees. You're trending again. My stomach dropped. What now? Relax, it's not bad. Someone stitched your old Storytime clip, the toxic post that freed me. It's everywhere. I blinked. I didn't post a Storytime. You didn't. But someone did, one of those commentary creators. They're calling you the Quiet Avenger. I groaned. Please tell me they didn't use the crying candle video. Oh, they did. With clown music. I couldn't help it, I laughed. Loud, genuine laughter that echoed through the apartment. Tessa raised her cup in salute. To poetic justice. But later that night, alone in my room, I opened my inbox. There it was, his name. Mason Fletcher. The subject line read, "A letter from the heart." For a full minute, I hovered over it. Every instinct screamed, don't. But curiosity, as always, won by an inch. The email unfolded like a sermon wrapped in self-pity. Kathy, I've been doing deep spiritual work. I now realize that your actions triggered my inner wounds, but also expanded my consciousness. You were my mirror, my divine lesson. I forgive you. I'm open to reconnection, but this time with clearer boundaries. You'll need to cover therapy since you caused the trauma. Also, I think we should open a joint account again. The universe wants us back together. I didn't read the rest, just hit forward. To Tessa. Her reply came 2 minutes later. Girl, his manifestation needs a refund. I laughed so hard I cried. Days passed. Leonard called once more. Mason had finally moved in with him and his new wife, Deb. There were rules now. Get a real job within 30 days or get out. Mason apparently had found employment at Target. Leonard said he'd texted him congratulations. Mason replied with a quote about humility as the highest vibration. I could almost see him scanning barcodes and whispering affirmations between customers. A week later, Kennedy sent another message. He's quieter now, maybe growing up a little. Either way, thank you for not destroying him even when you could have. I stared at her words for a long time. Maybe she was right. Maybe revenge had never been my goal. It was peace. And I finally had it. One evening, sitting on Tessa's balcony with a glass of wine, I scrolled back to the first message Mason had sent me years ago. You have the kind of energy I've been manifesting my whole life. I smiled sadly. He got what he manifested, I whispered. Just not what he wanted. The city lights blinked in the distance. The hum of cars below reminded me of that apartment, of the fridge's quiet buzz before everything shut off. That sound had once meant survival. Now it just meant noise. For the first time in years, my world was finally quiet. No manipulation, no guilt, no performance. Just peace. And maybe somewhere out there, Mason was learning that sometimes the universe doesn't punish you. It just lets you live with yourself. It's strange how silence can start to feel like music, the kind that plays softly when the chaos finally stops. A month passed before the last message arrived. It was a Sunday morning rain tapping softly against the windows, the kind of gray light that makes the world seem suspended. I was sipping coffee reading about mortgage rates when my phone buzzed. Sender Mason Fletcher. Subject twin flames don't die. For a full minute I just stared at it. Then against every shred of self-preservation I opened it. Kathy, I've been doing intense shadow work these past few weeks, and I realize now everything that happened between us was guided by the universe. Our breakup was not a failure, it was an ascension. You were meant to trigger my awakening. I see that now. I forgive you for abandoning me. I understand your masculine energy was afraid of my divine feminine power. You've always resisted surrender. But that's okay, we can heal together. To start, here's what the universe is asking for. You pay for couples therapy since your actions caused the trauma. You apologize to my mother for misinterpreting her intentions. We open a joint bank account. Transparency builds trust. You support my spiritual business for 1 year while I rebuild. We manifest a new home together. I'm envisioning a downtown loft with sunlight and room for altars. I'm currently staying with a friend. They don't like the word homeless shelter, so let's not use that energy. But I can move back in with you immediately. The universe wants us to realign. Don't fight destiny. Love and light, Mason. I read it twice, then laughed so hard I nearly spilled my coffee. It was the most Mason thing I'd ever read. Delusion wrapped in enlightenment, manipulation dressed as self-awareness. I didn't reply. I forwarded it to Tessa. Her response came 60 seconds later. His manifestation needs a restraining order. I laughed again, softer this time. Not bitter, just free. A few days later, Leonard called. Just letting you know, Mason's officially employed, he said. Target cashier. First real job in years. Good for him, I said. Leonard exhaled. He's not thrilled. Keeps calling it temporary grounding work. But maybe it'll stick. I hope it does. And thank you, he added. You could have ruined him. You didn't. I smiled. That wasn't my job. Weeks passed quietly. I found my own apartment small, but bright, with plants instead of crystals. The first night there, I made dinner for myself, lit one candle, unscented, intentionally ordinary, and sat in silence. No lectures about vibrations, no guilt, no pretending. Just me, my food, and peace that didn't need to be manifested. Tessa came over with champagne. To freedom, she said, popping the cork. To bills in my own name, I said, laughing. We toasted, then spent the evening rearranging furniture and playing bad 2000s pop. It felt like life again, imperfect, messy, real. At one point, Tessa glanced at my phone screen. You still getting emails from him? Once a week, I don't open them anymore. Smart. She paused. Do you ever think about him? I considered that. Sometimes. Not with anger, more like curiosity. Curiosity. Yeah, about what it must feel like to believe your own lies that hard. Tessa nodded. That's deep. I smiled faintly. That's trauma. We both laughed until tears formed. A few weeks later, Kennedy texted me again. He's calmer now. He's still posting quotes about healing, but he actually shows up to work. He told Dad you were his karmic lesson. I think that's progress. I stared at her message for a long moment, then typed back. Maybe it is. Everyone heals differently. That night, I deleted his contact not out of hate, but because I no longer needed to keep track of his chaos. Freedom didn't feel like fireworks, it felt like breathing. Months later, my phone buzzed with a new email notification, not from Mason this time, but from the electric company. Subject: your account update payment successful. I smiled, paid on time. My name, my responsibility, my life. And just before closing my laptop, I opened a blank note and typed something I never wanted to forget. When someone tells you they're free from toxic relationships while you're the one paying their bills, believe them. They're telling you who they think the toxic one is. And sometimes the kindest thing you can do is let them be right. I hit save, closed the laptop, and let the soft hum of my fridge fill the quiet. It was the same sound I'd once dreaded, proof that I was still holding everything together. Now it was my favorite